Hi everyone, welcome back to the SAM Biology classes online. I am Salim. In this video, we are going to study another important concept that is hormone receptors. Hormone receptors. Okay, before going to this, just you recall I told you in the last video, hormones are the chemical substances secreted by the endocrine gland, and these hormones are produced in very small amount and they carried by the blood to their target organs. Hormones are very specific in their actions and they show their actions only on the target organs. Okay, so this is the basic thing that you have to remember. And what are hormone receptor? Hormone receptors are the proteins that are located on the target cells that binds with the hormones. Okay, so these are the proteins that usually binds with the hormones and they are located in the target organs or on the target cells. They may locate inside the target cell or they may present on the target cell. And these hormone receptors present on the target cell, nothing but on the cell membrane, are called membrane bound receptors. Okay, so membrane bound receptor means these are the receptors which are present on the cell membrane. And the hormone receptors which are present inside the target organs are called intracellular receptors. As the name indicate, intra means inside, cellular means cell. So these hormone receptors are present inside the target organ or target cell, hence they are called intracellular receptors. Okay, so therefore you have to remember hormone receptors are classified into two types. Membrane bound receptors are present on the cell membrane and intracellular receptors that are present inside the target cell. Now you can ask, inside the cell means where actually? So inside the cell means they may present inside the nucleus or cytoplasm. Okay, so the receptors which are present inside the nucleus are called nuclear receptors. So nuclear receptors are located inside the nucleus, while the receptors which are present in the cytoplasm are called cytoplasmic receptors. Okay, so you can easily remember nuclear receptors are located inside the nucleus, whereas the cytoplasmic receptors are located inside the cytoplasm. So thus you have to remember there are two types of hormone receptors, namely membrane bound receptors and intracellular receptors. Again, the intracellular receptors are classified into two types, nuclear receptors and cytoplasmic receptors. Now the most important point, the protein hormones mediate their action by binding to the membrane bound receptors. So this is very important point. The protein hormones and also amino acid derivative hormones. So last lecture I told you the classification of hormones. There are 4 categories of hormones. So in that the protein hormones as well as the amino acid derivative hormones, these hormones mediate their action by binding with the membrane bound receptors. Whereas the steroid hormones and iodothyronine, these hormones mediate their action by binding with the intracellular receptors. Okay, so usually steroid hormones mediate their action by binding with the intracellular receptors, whereas the protein hormones mediate their action by binding with the membrane bound receptors. So in this video I am going to explain you in detail about the membrane receptors and how the mode of hormone action takes place. Let us study in detail. Now let us study in detail about the protein hormone action with the help of GPCR. GPCR means G protein coupled receptor. Okay, G protein coupled receptor, it is one of the important surface receptor. Surface receptor are also called membrane bound receptors. Okay, so as I told you, so membrane bound receptors, these are located on the plasma membrane. Okay, so GPCR is a best example for the membrane bound receptor or surface receptor which is present on the plasma membrane. And the protein hormone, so ligand means you have to remember here it is a protein hormone, it usually binds with this receptor. Okay, when the ligand binds to the GPCR, okay, this GPCR become activated. Okay, so the activation of GPCR is a first important step. Now how this mechanism takes place, let us study in detail. Okay, first I will tell you the structure of GPCR. You can see the video carefully. GPCR actually it has three parts, namely I will show you. This is called extracellular domain. Okay, this is extracellular domain, and this one is the intracellular domain, and the middle portion called, you can see that there are 7, you can count 7 transmembrane portion. Okay, so the GPCR has 3 parts: the outer extracellular domain, inner intracellular domain, and middle transmembrane portion. Okay, and usually there are it transfers the plasma membrane 7 times. Hence GPCR, G protein coupled receptor, it is also called 7 transmembrane receptor. And you can see that it's almost look like a snake, hence it is also called a serpentine receptor. So there are many names are there. GPCR also called 7 transmembrane receptor, serpentine receptor. Remember, it is a example for surface receptor also. And now when a ligand binds to the extracellular domain of the GPCR, okay, this intracellular domain get attached to a G protein, the first important step. And G proteins means guanine nucleotide binding protein. Okay, I will tell you the structure of this G protein. Remember, as you can see in the diagram, G protein is made up of 3 subunits: alpha, beta, and gamma. And this alpha subunit of the G protein, it is bounded with GDP, guanine dinucleotide phosphate. Okay, now I will tell you once again. So when the ligand binds to the receptor, the intracellular domain undergo conformational change. As a result, there is a exchange of GDP with GTP takes place, and this subunit splits into 2 groups. One group is beta gamma subunit, and another one is GTP bound alpha subunit. Careful, GTP bound alpha subunit get separated from the beta gamma subunit. Now this is called the active G protein. GTP bound alpha subunit is the active G protein. Now this active G protein, it performs 2 important function. Okay, the activated alpha GTP bound subunit, it performs 2 functions. It activates 2 enzymes, as you can see that AC means adenylyl cyclase. It activates an enzyme called adenylyl cyclase, and also another enzyme called phospholipase C. So the alpha subunit activate the 2 enzymes, adenylyl cyclase and phospholipase C. The activated adenylyl cyclase helps in a synthesis of cyclic AMP from the ATP, while the activated phospholipase C helps in synthesis of IP3 and DAG from the phosphatidyl inositol bisphosphate. Okay, PIP2 means I will show you here. So PIP2 means phosphatidyl inositol 4,5 bisphosphate. IP3 means inositol triphosphate. DAG means diacyl glycerol. Okay, so you have to remember PIP2, it splits into IP3 and DAG in presence of the enzyme phospholipase C. Okay, now the cyclic AMP, it activate another important enzyme known as protein kinase A. This protein kinase A, as you can see, it is made up of 2 R subunits and 2 C subunits. R means regulatory subunit and C stands for catalytic subunit. Now you can see that the 4 cyclic AMP molecule binds to the 2 regulatory subunit of protein kinase. I mean 2 cyclic AMP molecules binds to each R subunit. Now the catalytic subunit gets separated. Okay, now the catalytic subunit gets separated, and this catalytic subunit of protein kinase A helps in a phosphorylation of a protein called CREB. CREB. So it is a protein. So CREB protein is undergo phosphorylation, and now this phosphorylated CREB, it binds to another important molecule called CRE. Okay, now this CRE helps in phosphorylation of the target organ. Okay, see, in this case I would like to tell you the most important pointer. See, as I told you in the beginning, the hormone, it binds to the receptor. Why? Because this is a protein hormone and it never enter inside the cell, because the plasma membrane, as we know, it is made up of a lipid bilayer, and lipid bilayer does not allow this protein hormone. As a result, this protein hormone is a first messenger, and cyclic AMP act as a secondary messenger. Okay, so this is very important point. You have to remember, cyclic AMP, it act as a secondary messenger, and the important function of cyclic AMP is it activate the protein kinase A enzyme, which activate a nuclear protein called CREB, which helps in further activation of target protein inside the nucleus. Okay, so cyclic AMP is the most important secondary messenger. And also IP3, inositol triphosphate and diacyl glycerol, these are also act as a secondary messengers. So remember, there are 3 examples. Usually this question is asked many times in the competitive examination. Examples for the secondary messenger, there are 3 important examples: cyclic AMP, IP3 and DAG. These 3 molecules act as a secondary messenger, and the protein hormone ligand, it is the first messenger. Now we studied the function of cyclic AMP. Now let us study the function of IP3. IP3, when it is produced by the phospholipase C, it enters inside the endoplasmic reticulum. It enters inside the endoplasmic reticulum, and it helps in release of calcium from calcium ion channels. So the endoplasmic reticulum has calcium ion channels. So now the IP3 molecule helps in release of calcium from the endoplasmic reticulum. This calcium activates another enzyme called protein kinase C along with DAG. Okay, both DAG, diacylglycerol, and calcium, which is released by the endoplasmic reticulum, both these molecules helps in the activation of an important enzyme called protein kinase C. Be careful, cyclic AMP activate protein kinase A, whereas the calcium and DAG, diacylglycerol, activate the protein kinase C. Now this protein kinase C, it phosphorylates the respective target proteins. So in this way, the protein hormone action takes place inside the target organs by the generation of secondary messengers. So you have to remember, cyclic AMP, IP3 and DAG act as a secondary messenger. I hope you understood the concept. Like the video, subscribe the channel, and in the upcoming video I will tell you in detail about the steroid hormone action. Thank you very much. See, now we studied this in detail. Now some of the students are feeling very difficult how to remember this concept. Okay, now I will tell you one of the important trick how to remember the concept. Okay, I will divide this into some steps. So follow that steps. First step is activation of receptor with the help of ligand. This is the first step. Then second step is activation of G protein. Okay, that involves these steps. Okay, now then there is an next step is activation of adenylyl cyclase and phospholipase C by the alpha subunit. It is the third step. Okay, first step activation of receptor, second step activation of G protein, third step activation of adenylyl cyclase and phospholipase C. Fourth step, synthesis of cyclic AMP by adenylyl cyclase. Fifth step, activation of protein kinase A by cyclic AMP. Then last step here, the functioning of protein kinase A, or you can say the activity of protein kinase A. Then next step is here synthesis of IP3 and diacylglycerol by phospholipase C. Next step, release of calcium by IP3. Then activation of protein kinase C, and last step here is phosphorylation of target protein. Okay, so in this way you can remember the mechanism of protein hormone action: activation of receptor, activation of G protein, activation of two enzymes, adenylyl cyclase, phospholipase C, synthesis of cyclic AMP, activation of protein kinase A, functioning of protein kinase A, synthesis of IP3 and DAG, activation of protein kinase C, phosphorylation of target protein. So in this way you can remember the steps. Thank you once again.